guys, and welcome back to the budget channel on Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now with a combination basically of the two of my favorite archetypes in the whole game. It's not the most competitive version in a sense where like you see there's no hand traps, it still goes second deck because of the whole Shaddoll engine and so on, but it is quite the neat variant to play. And you have some plays around negates, but if your opponent plays heavy negates, like talking 3 to 5, then you're probably a little bit screwed in a sense. But other than that, this deck tends to go second. Price wise, this deck is totally fine as well if you're just looking at the main deck. If we're just making some adjustments like putting the Savage Dragon out and swooping this little Scarlet Red Dragon Artifact in, then price wise, this deck works out pretty well. I think the most expensive thing in this deck is probably the Shaddoll engine plus the World Legacy Inheritor and If the World Chalice. You don't have to run both of them, it's just easy to make a level 5 synchro in this deck, and there's not that many good level 5 synchros, but Naturia Beast for example, but that's not as easy to make. It is possible to make it, and it's possible to turn this deck into a go first version, but it's not that easy in a sense, because like going second you have 6 cards, you have more play potential and so on. It actually helps more going second, especially with the Shaddoll fusion obviously. But you can also, if you're interested in Lightsworn deck profiles, check out my Lightsworn Spiral deck. That actually works a little bit better in a sense because it's a little bit stronger with the whole Spiral Sleeper kind of engine and so on. But talking about this deck, price wise, with the extra deck, if you cut like super expensive cards, maybe I mean Sayuja is a card that you really want for this deck. Other than that, think maybe Shikanaga as possibly getting a reprint in the new Battles of Legends. Possibly I've seen some Shaddoll cards, so maybe that card gets one as well. And other than that, the deck is fairly cheap. I would say about like 40 to 70 quid, depends on what extra deck choices you go with and what you decide to play in this deck. But I think that's fairly fine for a 55 card deck. It's obviously going to be a little bit more expensive. You play a little bit more cards because you don't want to mill out yourself. If you start with the right play starters, then you can actually mill quite a lot. But going into the cards in detail, one Destrudo, it's easy to dump him with Shaddoll Fusion, cards like Foolish Burial, Curious Lightsworn, and so on. Don't need any Dragon's Ravine or some kind of shenanigans. Even if you have to use them from hand, still works out. Helps you getting into level 7 synchros. Black Rose Dragon comes to mind. Going second, breaking boards can be super neat, so you definitely want to go for this card. Can also help you go into link plays. You have some dark monsters, so you technically could use the Strudo to go into Curious as well, but it's not going to come up that much. Like you would have to normal summon a Shaddoll monster and still bounce like a card back and have the Strudo on the field. It is harder, but it is possible. I run double Shaddoll Beast basically for the middle draws and in general for the draws of the Shaddoll Fusion. This is I think one of the best one card engines with Shaddoll Fusion that I've ever seen. If your opponent has an extra deck monster, if not, this is quite useless, but you still get the draws from the mill, so that's fine. Unless you do it for cost. Shaddolls have that thing, if you mill them for cost, doesn't work. But Cyber Dragon, run it because I run double Galaxy Soldier. You couldn't run triple Galaxy Soldier. It's just really good because your deck has a lot of light monsters, and some of them you actually want in the graveyard. Talking about Trick Clown, for example, talking about Minerva because you get another mill off. In general, you have a lot of bricks in your hand that are light. With the 2 Lightsworn monsters you can't normal summon, so getting them to the graveyard, preparing your setup for Lumina, for example, makes this a whole load better to play. Plus you can search then deck then go into cards like Cyber Dragon Infinity, which helps with Cyber Dragon as well. You can, with the normal Cyber Dragon, go into the Mega Fleet to break your opponent's board a little bit. So there's a lot of things that you can actually do. Oh, that's a dark card as well, so that actually does help you sometimes with the Curious and so on. So all in all, double or triple, that's up to you. I just didn't want to make this deck even bigger than it is, but I guess you could possibly cut like one Lumina or one Felis or whatever and play another Galaxy Soldier. Triple Wolf, because this card is easy to mill. This card triggers off of everything. It doesn't have to be sent by monster card effect like she has to be. So better card in a sense from like the perspective of getting it off, but other than that, we'll see. One Photon Thrasher, because your level of rank 4 maneuver is quite important. Plus it's a light monster you can easily special summon from your hand. Helps you get into Curious as well. Don't have to play it, can play it. Helps with rank 4s. If you want to make different extra deck choices, put more rank 4s in, which you definitely can because this deck quite focuses on it. Obviously there's the synchro plays and so on. The extra deck space is quite tight. If it ever goes up to 20 or something, this deck gets a little bit better in a sense because you can do way more. One shot all dragon basically, so if your opponent has spell trap cards, you can get rid of one of them at least. Double Raiden, it's a good normal summon, maybe not your best normal summon, but it's a good one. Playing out 2, being able to search out with reinforcement as well, which if counts for Photon Thresher as well, is quite neat. So you have that kind of utility. Trick Clown, obviously, in every mill deck that wants to somewhat go into rank 4s, it's quite neat. Zephyros, same thing. Can use it once per duel. It's not always easy to have a card that you can bounce, but what you can actually do is bounce a Toy Vendor, for example. So you do have that kind of option. You do have Flufflebear to search Toy Vendor. So this can come up quite a lot, actually. You have 1,000 Blades in combination with Trick Clown. You get it fed into the graveyard. That's why on Shikanaga as well, because you can send it with that then if need be. Triple Fearless, because if you get the card on your field, then you can destroy a monster, you can mill more, you have a tuner. Very good card in general if you get it off. Not always easy to get off, but Curious kind of makes it possible. And Raiden, I guess, and maybe Minerva, something like that. But other than that, it's not as easy to get off as Wolf is. Flufflebear searches you the whole Fluffle engine, triple Fluffle Wings, triple Flufflebear, and triple Toy Vendor, basically, so you get more draws with stuff that you mill maybe. You can search stuff, you can dump stuff from your hand into the graveyard, get another mill off. It supports the deck quite a lot, gives it a little bit more versatility and so on, plus it fills your hand up for your discard effects sometimes as well. Plus, you recharge a little bit for Galaxy Soldier because you can add Fluffle Wings to your hand from your deck if the Toy Avenger goes to the graveyard. So there's that. That's a good, neat engine that works pretty well with, like, together in a sense. Plus, you want Fluffle Wings into your graveyard, so the whole Galaxy Fluffle Wings, Soldier Fluffle Wings combo is quite neat. Triple Solar Recharge. You run a lot of Lightsworn monsters. You've probably seen that. You have a lot of ways to get them to your hand possibly, so this card is pretty essential. Yes, it will happen from time to time to start with one of them and no Lightsworn monster, but every deck has breaks, every deck has possibilities to not do well, so we still take this because mill and draw is quite neat. 1-for-1, you see you have a lot of level 1 monsters in the deck. Kind of skipped a few there, but we're talking about them later because it's not, they're just come up with the other cards. Like, you know what Hedgehog does, classic Shaddoll plays. This card is basically just for mills, and technically you could go into Dante, you could put Dante into your deck, so you have an easy rank 3, and then with Dante you can go into Curious as well. It's a neat combo, but you don't have the space right now if you want to play that many Shaddoll cards, and the Mega Fleet don't have to do it. Could just cut the Cyber Dragon as well, but I think it was actually quite helpful all of the time, so I'm not going to do that. But Dante is a thing. This card, if you put it with Toy Vendor into the graveyard, if you mill it by chance or whatever, just gets you through the deck, gets the Lightsworn monster, it's a tuner, helps you get into your Black Rose Dragon and so on. So this card pretty neat. Going back to the 1-for-1 targets, Jet Synchron gets one card if you hand to the graveyard, special summon itself. Glow Up Bulb does mill a card, special summon itself, so both pretty neat. Reinforcement helps you searching for Raiden and Photon Thresher, so that is pretty good as well. And Shaddoll Fusion, obviously, dumping a lot of cards into the graveyard, getting effects off, getting your monsters off, and so on. There's a lot of stuff you can do. Slash Draw sadly at 1 because of some stupid FTKs. Would have rather seen that at 3 because the mill decks that actually does quite well, especially when your opponent has a board. That's when you go second, so you can mill quite a lot of cards, and if you already did some combos, then you can put better cards into your graveyard and reset your graveyard a little bit, which can be fairly neat in this deck. Card destruction, not as good going first anymore, still go okay in a mill deck, going second. You can reset your own hand without giving your opponent too many resources because you'll probably have played through most of his hand. Yeah, you might unbrick him a little bit if you're unlucky, but let's hope not. It's mainly helpful for yourself. Getting like 3 to 5 cards into your graveyard can be quite neat with that. Foolish Burial, obviously in a mill deck, you can get multiple cards to your graveyard that you just need in the situation. Monster Reborn, because your graveyard will be full if you happen to have this card in your hand, or being able to get it back with Curious, for example. That is quite a neat card. One of the best cards in the game still, in my opinion. It's off the ban list for quite some time now, but very, very, very good in any kind of deck that wants to mill. It's super good in a Lightsworn deck. It's not once per turn. It mills for cost. Super good. I love that card. Obviously playing at 3. World Legacy Succession, because you can search it with IP. You can cut this whole engine if you want to, play a better card that actually helps you a little bit more doing your turn in your extra deck if you want to. Stuff as like Dante maybe for the mill and so on. but I like the combo because it's quite easy to go into. But you can obviously do whatever you want. And the toy vendor for the extra deck, the simple Shaddoll cards. Windham hitting it out at the end of the turn can be quite neat. You can just get Destroyer into the graveyard. You can get Zephyros into the graveyard. There's a lot of things that you can do with all of those kind of cards. Obviously, we don't have to talk about Construct and the Lightsworn deck. Pretty self-explanatory. And other than that, any generic level 8 or level 7 or level 5 synchro monster that you feel like helps you is a good call. You could play stuff like Stars Charge Warrior, since you can go into level 6 synchro monster with Minerva and Lumina, but you don't have to. It can be neat, but since the space is full, whatever. If you want to go for Avramax instead of Scaldi, if you want to have more active plays, more aggressive plays, that's probably a card for you. This just helps you get more into deep plays and so on, because the win condition of this deck isn't always really clear. You just try to somehow clear your opponent's board and then like get enough damage on board to go for a game. That's basically what you're trying to do. This card can help with this, but this card can OTK heavier, so you can decide whatever you want. And obviously you need one Curious. I thought Phoenix is more important than Cerberus if you want to have the space, because you kind of need a link monster that points downwards, so you can go into more extra deck monsters in a sense. And Link Karibo is just helpful with your level 1 skin to the graveyard, like Fluffle Wings, Glow Bulb, or Jet Synchron, which you all want in the graveyard. So that is a must have in this deck. Hope you enjoyed the deck profile. Give it a like if you did. Give me some suggestions for this deck. I really love those mixing everything together kind of deck types. And I love if some people have some nice suggestions. Subscribe to my channel if you want more cheap deck profiles that you might enjoy. Then click that subscribe button. Do whatever other YouTuber tells you to do on my channel as well. And I hope you have a good day.